Good morning, guys. Excuse me. This is the 5th video in the 90-day roadmap to success, and today I'm talking about sleep. And I was trying to decide what I wanted my next topic to be, and I think that it's really important that we get sleep out of the way first. So, after food, sleep is by far the most important thing you can do, no matter what your health goals are, whether it is getting healthy from chronic disease, whether it's losing weight, it really doesn't matter. Sleep is probably the single most important thing you can do for yourself. And you could do everything else right. You could eat right, you could exercise, and if you're not getting adequate sleep, it doesn't matter because none of that is going to get used. You see, when you're asleep, that's when your body heals, restores, builds muscle, loses fat, gets rid of waste. All of the good stuff only happens when you're sleeping. So all the effort and energy and time you put in when you're awake gets used by the body when you're asleep, and it can do its job with you out of the way. REM is the most important time during sleep. So you have stage 4 deep and REM sleep, and that's when the magic happens. Even though it's a very small part of your sleep time, combined, it's going to be somewhere between 2.5 and 4.5 hours of the 7 to 9 hours that you sleep. But it is the single most important time in the day because without that time, your body can't do any of those things. The exercise you do won't go to build lean muscle and improve your metabolism. The learning you do won't trigger in your brain unless you get sleep, because sleep is where your brain is able to file things, decide what's important, store long-term and short-term memories appropriately, decide what is important to take up the space in your brain and your memory. So everything hinges on adequate sleep. It is the thing you can never forget about. And it can't be haphazard. It has to be consistent. Just 2 consecutive nights of less than 7 hours of sleep is sleep deprivation. You lose memory, you gain weight, it becomes harder for your immune system to function. Just 2 days in a row of less than 7 hours of sleep, and you have done considerable damage long-term to your body. And I know how many of us do that. I went years with horrible sleep hygiene, horrible sleep patterns, and I'm not prioritizing sleep. For those of you who know me, you know that the one thing I will never skimp on is my sleep. It is the single most important. I don't care if I'm traveling. If you guys have traveled with me, my team will tell you this. I close the doors, lock the doors, shut the lights off, refuse to allow anyone to watch TV. I don't want any noise after 9 or 10 p.m. 10 o'clock is my Cinderella hour. I am out at 10 and I am up at 6, and that's it. So it's really, really, really important that you not just design your life around your sleep, but guard your sleep like it is the most important thing that has ever happened in your entire world. Like it is a diamond in the rough that you have to take care of constantly. And your whole job is about protecting sleep. So I was listening, as part of our 90 days, we have a reading requirement every day. And so yesterday my reading was actually a book by an author who I've read several of his books, and this particular book I had not yet read, so I started it last night. And I was thinking about some of the contents in the book, and it occurred to me that there are some real fundamental truths that you just can't get around. The first one, you'll hear me say this a gazillion times: protein is king. You cannot build muscle, you cannot lose fat if you do not have adequate protein. And in 15 years of doing what I do, I have never once met someone, no matter how much protein they consume, that was actually consuming enough protein for them. And it is why in all of the classes, figuring out your minimum required protein just to be who you are, not even to get to your goal, is one of the very first things that we do. So if losing weight is your goal, if being healthy is your goal, if curing a chronic disease is your goal, if reversing a disease is your goal, if preventing disease is your goal, there are 5 fundamental truths. 1, eat more protein. 2, avoid sugar in every form it comes in. Whether that is bread, pasta, cereal grains, rice, potatoes, fruits that are high in fructose, or it's not just candy and sugar and adding sugar and sugar alcohols to things. It's in your foods, and it is poisonous, and it damages every organ in the body, and it makes it impossible for you to be healthy or lose weight. There is nothing, no disease that is not linked to inflammation caused by sugar consumption. It causes insulin resistance, it causes weight gain, it causes hormone fluctuation, it causes metabolic diseases, it leads to inflammation, which triggers autoimmune diseases. Sugar has no place in the human diet whatsoever. And so avoiding sugar, avoiding white things like cereal grains and pastas and rice and bread and all of that, increasing your protein. If you could just grasp onto those few things while you're learning the rest of the fundamentals of whatever dietary path you've chosen, that's going to be critical for longevity, period. So that's not 1 and 2. More protein, less carbs. Number 3 is move. And moving doesn't have to mean exercise. It can mean literally getting your butt up and going, walking somewhere, parking further away from the grocery store than you normally do, and making yourself walk a little bit further, being inconvenienced, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Those are all ways to incorporate functional movement. When you're putting your groceries away, reaching, squatting, bending, all of those things are functional movements, and we need to do more of them. But you can minimize exercise and maximize results by understanding how your biology works. And I'm going to dig into that in the movement and exercise video. But moving your butt is critical on a daily basis, because we have a very sedentary lifestyle right now, and that is part of why we have a health epidemic worldwide. Number 4, and these are not in order of importance, it's just because I want to end on sleep, because that's what this video is about. So number 4 is electrolytes. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium, 3 of the most overlooked nutrients that you use all the time, and without them, you die. We have vilified sodium. We ignore magnesium and potassium, and we've lied to people and told them that if you need potassium, the best place to get it is a banana, when in fact bananas actually are not very high in potassium. We don't get enough potassium and magnesium in any diet right now because we've depleted the soil of it. And we often get too much of the wrong kind of sodium, and there's no balance between those 3 electrolytes. And that's why when I talk about hydration, it is so important, and I hammer this home, that water isn't hydrating. Drinking too much water can be a problem. Forcing electrolytes is absolutely necessary to being healthy. You put those 4 things together with sleep, and I promise you, you are going to see some results. So now I want to talk a little bit more about sleep, because sleep is not always about the quantity of sleep. I know we talk about 7 to 9 hours being the most important, or your target, your goal, never less than 7. Some people do sleep more than 8, 9 hours a day, but generally that's a sign of fatigue and something's wrong. So 7 to 9 hours is really the sweet spot. But it's really all about quality. And I was thinking about this morning when I woke up, because I have an app that tracks my sleep based on my breathing rhythms and sounds. I have found that using something like a Garmin or a Fitbit or an Apple Watch actually prohibits me from being healthy. So I have eliminated all of the electronic devices, because what I really want it for is to measure my sleep, because that's the most important thing. I can measure what I eat. I can measure how I exercise. I don't need something to track my caloric intake or output. But what I want is something that measures my sleep and helps me to be consistent in how I sleep. And I spend a lot of my time focused on sleep because it is that important. And like I said, if you know me, you know I do not like my sleep to be disturbed. I do not like my sleep pattern to be changed. I am like militant about my sleep. So anyway, I found that the electromagnetic radiation from the Garmin and the Fitbit and the Apple Watch, and Apple Watches were actually the worst of all. They emit the most radiation. Same with the AirPods, and even the iPhones emit more radiation. So, and we'll talk about. We should actually probably spend some time talking about electromagnetic radiation in the products that you use, because we are such a technologically based society now. But I digress. Another day. My point is that those EMFs, like blue light, which I'm going to talk about in a second, interfere with your body's ability to sleep. It messes with your circadian rhythm. It messes with your brain function and neurological function. So I threw all those away. Yes, I've had them. I've tried lots of different things. I hate every single one of them. They suck. Don't use them, and don't waste your money. So I have an app on my phone that, and I'll link to the app because I can't look on my phone to tell you even what the name of it is. I think it's called Shut Eye. And what it does is I set it up on my phone away from me in the room that I'm sleeping, and it records my sleep. So it records my breathing. So it knows if you're snoring. It knows if you have sleep apnea and you stop breathing, because it's basing its readings on sounds in the room when you're sleeping. So it knows if my dog barks. It knows if I get up to pee. It knows if I grab my phone in the middle of the night, which you should not do. It's tracking my behavior based on sleep, and or based on sounds, and then it can tell, because of those sounds, when I'm immobile. Excuse me. I didn't grab a drink this morning. When I'm immobile, and when my breathing is deep and steady, it knows when I'm in REM and when I'm in deep sleep. And so far, I have found this to be the best sleep app that I've used, and I love it. And I've been using it now I looked at it yesterday, it was 164 days. So for the last 164 days consecutively, I have set this app up every night. It does have an alarm function. It does have a white noise function. So it kind of does everything I need it to do at once. And then what I like about it is the white noise function shuts off when I fall asleep, so it doesn't continue through the night. And then that helps it to be able to pay attention to sounds in the room. Because when you do run the white noise all night, which is an option, it does interfere with depending on how loud you have the white noise, it'll interfere with it picking up sounds in your room. So I have it shut off. It's on a timer. So the reason that this is important, and the reason I bring this up, is because yesterday I only got 5 hours of sleep. But I woke up this morning on my own at 6, fully rested, raring to go, ready to go outside. I've already been outside and fed the animals and done all of that before I sat down to record this video. So quality of sleep is really, really important. And we talk about this even in conjunction with the sleep strips, that the sleep strips aren't going to make you sleep 7 to 9 hours. They're going to make you get to REM and stay in REM as long as you can, so you have as much recovery. So it's about quality versus quantity. I still think that getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep is important, but there are nights where it's just not going to happen, and you want to make sure that the quality of your sleep supersedes the quantity. Okay? So how do you do that? With a routine, with consistency, with intentionality, just like we talk about food and movement and everything else and stress management and self-care. You have to be intentional about these things. You can't just wander through life and have life happen to you. You have to create the life that you want to have. And every one of these steps that we're going through in this 90 days is about you taking ownership of your life and creating the life that you want instead of you being a victim of what happens around you, which I think so many people are without even realizing. They're just literally floating around through life without any intention, without any purpose, without any reason for everything that you do. You're just kind of going from place to place, and I've got to go to a job, and I have to pick my kids up, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And it's about the have tos, but not about the need tos. And so I want you to restructure your life around what you need, and everything else can wait until you get to it. Since I've restructured my life that way, not only am I more productive and more gets done than the way I was doing things before, but I'm also healthier, and most importantly, I'm happier. And I now feel like I have a life worth living and a life that I get up and am excited about instead of just being here, which was what I was doing for decades and decades. And so you're not alone if that's how you feel. I already talked about REM. I want to talk a little bit about some sleep hygiene factors. And then we're actually going to, it turns out that the only class that I talk about sleep hygiene in is the Keto Masterclass. So if you're in the Keto Masterclass and you've done week 1 in there, the sleep checklist and the sleep hygiene, there's a sleep hygiene worksheet that are in that class. Those are so helpful. And if you've taken the class in the past, go back and do those worksheets again and watch the video for week 1 again. And if you have never taken that class, I encourage you to. And if you're in that class now, it was actually in the very first week, the things you were supposed to download. So make sure you do that. And for everyone else, for everybody who's doing paleo and carnivore, I'm going to recreate that worksheet and put it in the documents here. I'll work on that this weekend so that going forward you guys can take a look at it. But there's some things I want you to think about. Also, in Bedrock Your Body to a Healthier You, our public group, if you search sleep, there is an hour-long video there. I know it's a long time and you have to break it up into little pieces, but there's an hour-long video in there where I talk about sleep hygiene, the importance of sleep, how to create a sleep routine, and what are some of the things I use, like essential oils, certain supplements, the sleep strips, what my routine is in terms of showering, saunaing, reading, praying, meditating, all of those things. So there's, and then a lot of the self-care ideas can be incorporated into a nighttime routine, and then you do double duty. You get a 2-for-1. You're taking care of yourself. That's your quality time with you, and you're setting yourself up for successful sleep. I can't think of a better way to do things. That's kind of how I do them. 1, your environment matters. Your room should be dark, pitch black, and cool. Televisions do not belong in bedrooms. Get them out. Watching television before bed is a horrible, horrible idea. By the time this 90 days is over, my prayer for all of you is that you all hate the television as much as I do. We don't have one. I hate them. I hate people who watch them. I hate the fact that they suck everything out of your life and leave you with nothing but tragedy and meaninglessness. I despise the television. Seriously. Nothing good comes of it. You don't need it to watch the news. You don't need it to wind down. It is a crutch that literally sucks the life out of you. We haven't had a TV in 7 years. We got one in April and already it's gone. I despise it. I cannot say that enough. Like, it is horrible for your brain. It is horrible for productivity. It's horrible for sleep. It's horrible for everything. Everything. I hate them. But most importantly, if you do have a TV, get it out of the bedroom and don't ever put a TV in your children's bedrooms. Ever. Horrible, horrible, horrible. You will destroy their sleep and you will destroy their ability to function because it's like a constant dopamine, like their cell phones. It's a drug. So no televisions in the bedrooms. I like no cell phones in the bedrooms, but if you're like me and my kids aren't always here and I need to have in case of emergencies, put it as far away from you as possible and then put it on do not disturb. So my phone is set up from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You can't text me. You can't call me. It's on do not disturb. That is my time with my family. And the only people whose calls and texts come through are my 3 children and my significant other and my ex-husband in case of emergencies. Those are the only 5 people who can contact me outside of the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because those are the only people who matter outside of those hours. And so I do highly recommend that you learn to use your do not disturb, learn to figure out who the people are that you want to be able to ring through. Technology has a lot of features that benefit us. We can't get away from it, but we can learn how to control it. So your environment, a dark, cool room. I personally like a ceiling fan. I like to have a fan blowing on me. Some people don't. Those things are variables, but we have blackout curtains. Your room should be pitch black. And that includes if you have an alarm clock that has a light on it or a light display. Bad news. That light in your room, even with your eyes closed, is telling your brain it is time to get up, that there is light. Okay, so I'm going to get to the circadian rhythm in a second, but we are biologically hardwired to sleep in the dark and wake with the sun. That's our circadian rhythm. Sun goes down, we go to sleep. Sun comes up, we get up. Cortisol is highest as the sun rises. That is our most productive time. So we have to change our lifestyle back to fitting our biology. Blue light, I talked about. Blue light is horrible. So no television at least 2 hours before you go to bed. Turn your lights to amber or dim, or turn your lights off in your house at least 1 hour after sunset. No cell phones, computers, anything for 2 to 3 hours before bed. And if you have to be on them, make sure they have a blue light blocking screen or you're using a blue light blocking glass. We have, both actually. We have the True Dark blue light, the amber glasses and the red glasses, which I talk about in that video I mentioned. And then we have, there are protective screens on all of our phones. And now there are apps that will change the tone of your phone to warm, so it's amber. A lot of the phones now come with, or the screen protectors now have blue light blocking functionality. So make sure that you are blocking as much blue light, even during the day, but very importantly, once the sun sets, that's it. You cannot have exposure to blue lights. Everybody who comes here complains about my lights in my house because I do not have any white or blue-ish tint, like LED lights or anything like that. All of the lights in my house are amber. It is after dark. It is dark in my house, and I like it that way, and that's how it's gotta stay. But my kids are always like, "Mom, you can't see anything." You adapt. You learn to. Okay. Food versus fasting. One thing we know, and we'll do a video on fasting and meal timing and stuff like that, but one thing we do know is that people are very unique in how they respond to food. So I used to intermittent fast where I would break my fast around 11 and have my last meal around 8. And the reason I did that was because that was what my lifestyle allowed me to do. My kids play sports, so we get home late. Oftentimes, in order for us to eat together, we have to eat late. And but it negatively affected my sleep. It negatively affected my weight. It negatively affected my mood. And it made it much harder for me to fall asleep and stay asleep when I would eat later in the day. I learned that if I moved my intermittent fasting up higher, so I break my fast at between 7 and 9, and I finish all the food I'm going to eat for the day by 4, maybe 5 at the latest, that I not only sleep better, I lose weight better, my mood is better, my energy levels are better. So that works for me. Some people will find that if they have their carbs, their allotted amount of carbohydrate for the day earlier in the day based on their activity level, they do better. And other people will find that if their dinner has that half of a sweet potato or whatever their carb for that day is going to be, they do better. So that's highly individualized. Again, I'm one of those people who my biggest meal tends to be the beginning of the day, and then by 4 or 5, I'm not super hungry. I kind of have I have protein before as my last meal, but that's predominantly what I have. And then I don't eat for about 4 to 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours before I go to bed, depending on how I structure my day. And that works best for me. So you have to play around a little bit with what feels best in terms of you, and know that each time you make changes to your diet, to your lifestyle, to your schedule, it takes about 14 days for your body to catch up. So that's why this is a 90-day program, because in a couple days or a couple weeks or even a month, you're not going to know anything about what your body wants or how your body is reacting to that. So you should do things in 90-day blocks so that you can actually analyze what's happening, giving your biology time to catch up with you. So anyway, so some people eat earlier in the day, fast later. Some people vice versa. Some people have a heavier meal last. Some people should have their heavier meal early. You just have to play around with that and see what your body enjoys most. So now we're at circadian rhythm in my notes. Most of you have heard me use the term biological mismatch. The reason we're sick, miserable, fat, and dying is because we are not matched to our biology, meaning our diets don't match how we were created to eat. Our environment doesn't match how we were created to live. Our stress level doesn't match how we were designed to function. Our jobs don't match how we were designed to move. So everything about our modern life is out of whack with our biological design, and we have to follow biology, not technology, not the advances that we've made as human beings. We need to move backwards and take our biology into account, because that's what's most important, not all of these expectations we put out on ourselves because of where we are in the world today. So simplification. So we are designed to eat a certain way. That's what the dietary recommendations are about. We are designed to move a certain way. That's why I focus on functional movement. We are designed to live in a certain way, meaning community, in our environment, our circadian rhythm, low stress, camaraderie, family, unity. That's how our biology was structured, and that's what our optimal life looks like, and we have to make that happen. So our circadian rhythm is a big part of that. We are biologically designed to get tired when the sun goes down and to wake up feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and raring to go when the sun comes up, and have our most productive hours be early in the morning, and have the bulk of our sleep be from sundown to midnight. So in the sleep hygiene worksheet in Keto Masterclass, Rob talks about this, and he says that studies have shown that even though it's the same number of hours to sleep from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. or from 11 p.m. to 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., it's the same number of hours, right? Those who fell asleep at 9 and woke up at 5 lose weight faster, are more productive, are healthier, have better cardiac output, right? All of those things that are fundamental markers of our health are better in people who go to bed earlier, wake up earlier, than they are in people who go to bed later and sleep in a little bit more. So, so if you can structure your day around going to bed earlier, that's why I'm telling you, I call 10 o'clock the pumpkin hour. It's my Cinderella hour. At 10 o'clock, I turn into a pumpkin. That's it. I do not function past 10 o'clock. And then I'm up at 6. And that's what works for me. And I do get up naturally around 6:15, even without an alarm clock, because that's what I'm used to because of the consistency in that. So if you can, go to bed earlier and get up earlier, and then do stuff. When you wake up, get moving right away. And that's going to prevent you from feeling tired and from wanting to go back to sleep, and it's going to help you shift your schedule. So that's all I wanted to cover today. I know it turned out to be a little bit longer of a video than I wanted it to be, but I will tag the sleep hygiene video. I will also work on that sleep hygiene worksheet for you guys so that you guys have it by next week. I am going to take the rest of the day for myself. Today is a me day, so it's all about self-care because I'm working this weekend, which I normally don't do. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take time for you, do something fun with the family, and get outside, okay?